Hey guys, so today is kind of a vintage day. I have got this vintage blade. This is a Gillette spoiler, and hopefully it will go well. Kind of think it won't. In my new improved standard razor. Talk about that more in a minute. We also have a vintage brand, the Simpson. This is the Duke, and the size is the 3 size. And get him back in the water. He's been soaking now for maybe 10-15 minutes, and so that's good. He needs all that time. And then I got this cool Seaforth vintage mug off of eBay a while back, and I ruminated for a while on, what am I going to put in it? I don't have a lot of soaps that I like having exposed to the air, to dry out, that kind of thing. And most of my other soaps have caps and things, and so I didn't want to really put a croap in here. Those are easy to spoon out, of a tub and press into any size container you want. But I didn't want to do that since I didn't really have a top. And so it hit me when I was looking for somewhere to keep my vintage Williams mug soap. So here's a mug, and there's Williams mug soap. This is the vintage formulation. It has more tallow than the modern formulation. I am able to get a very nice creamy shave from even the modern Williams, but this one's even easier, even better, even creamier. So looking forward to that. Haven't used it in a couple of years though. Maybe 1 year, but probably more than that. Got my 40 milliliters jigger here to pull water from as we go. The brush, we'll just see how the loading goes. The puck, I did sprinkle a couple of droplets on it, just for grins, but pretty much is dry. Get my face wet. I don't feel like the sprinkling of a few droplets makes too much of a difference. It's more like my hands are wet, and so why not put them on this soap and watch them disappear? I don't feel like it's necessary. Some people do like to do that, and hey, if it's your soap, it's your shave, it's your choice, right? Do it if you want, but I think in some cases, and I have definitely seen one case with a WSP soap where I pre-bloomed it with several drops of water. Probably more like a teaspoon of water, and that was a bad idea because I did that before I went into the shower, got out of the shower, and all the place where the water was sunken down, and that jives with what I heard a soap maker say one time, maybe Will from Barrister and Man, saying sometimes when you put water on top of a soap, especially a croap, it dissolves things and kind of makes the soap out of balance. There are some things in the soap that are easy to dissolve and some that are not, and they need to kind of all come at the same time. And I'm paraphrasing here severely, but and this seemed to be what the water did, it kind of killed the soap. It didn't really kill the whole thing, but it probably wasted 2-3 weeks worth of soap just by that one act. And so it pulls things out of the formulation that shouldn't be pulled out until the right time, And so sometimes it can hurt to bloom the soap ahead of time. All right, you could always check with the vendor if you're curious. If you're a habitual bloomer, then I would advise you to check with the vendor and see, chemically speaking, if they have any objections. All right, so I so love, and I've shown on my channel a few times, the new improved razors. I've got one very much like this, but it's the brass or gold color. This one, of course, now is more of the silvery color. And so the other one was no, can't remember. This one is a new improved standard. This was the most popular one. Got the case for it right here. New standard. Now I was curious. I did some research before I brought this to you because I saw new standard and I thought, well, what's the difference between a new standard and a new improved? Because when I look at this base plate, this looks like my new improved, right? So I did the research and found that the new standard is in the family of the new improved. This is the new improved, that is the standard. It's the one that sold the most. There are a bunch of other razors that were in this same family, the new improved line. One of those is the big fellow. It's like this, but a big, tall, long guy with knurling, and he looks great. He feels great in my hand, but he has this same new improved head that is a little too aggressive for me, and that's kind of what I'm guessing is going to happen today. I guess it works out that I have a day and a half of growth on, because maybe that'll help tame the aggression a little bit, but I will be careful with today's shave. This one looks so good that I think it might be like a replating job or something like that. It just looks spectacular. If somebody else took care of this, if this is original condition, and somebody really did a marvelous job. Now maybe it just got polished up. I mean, even the top of the base plate here, I mean, that just looks like a replate job, right? So I don't know. I generally don't like the replated razors. I got this for a great deal on eBay. So we'll put the spoiler in there. This does have a couple of minimally bent teeth on the corners, as always, is how that happens from drops. And I'm not going to move them. I'm not going to try to bend them out. And it's just not going to affect the shave, and it's not going to have the risk of breaking them off. That's what often can happen if you try to move them yourself. All right, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Okay, so we've got a vintage blade in a vintage razor. What were these? Made in like the 20s? Something like that? Does that ring a bell? 30s? 20s or 30s? Mr. Razor has a great introductory part on his website. If you could just go to mrrazor.com and then go to there's a link there that says razors, and there's other languages there, so look for the English. It says razors. Go to that, and then it'll show like the old types, the new improved, that sort of thing. And then the closed comb, it gives you some dates, and it's really neat to look at that from a large, high-level view about, well, by the 20s was about this time. The 30s, here's the razor that, the series that was really kind of out in the 30s, that sort of thing. So I think it's really neat, and it's mr-razor.com. All right. So this has got that Criterion handle. I think is beautiful. Now this one itself is less textured. It's more smooth than the other one I have. That is the Criterion handle. So this one does have a serial number. It's a little hard to read. I might be able to date it at some point. So I've been letting the Simpson brush soak for a while. It's time to use it. Shake out a lot of the water. It holds a good bit for a little knot like it is. All right. Now, people have all kinds of techniques for lathering up Williams. Some people are involved. Some people... Now, if you load heavily, in a sense overloading, then of course you're eventually going to get to something, right? But then here's the thing: if you overload, then you end up with a dry lather that's, and especially Williams, that kind of makes me itchy, and it dries out your face because the soap concentration is too high. So there is a danger with overloading, in my opinion. And so I am going to, let's calculate how long I think I might need to load for after letting it sit for a while. 30 seconds is kind of my regular, especially since this hasn't been used consecutively. But let's add a little bit because it's been sitting for a long time. Okay? Now, how is this a super soft brush? Pretty soft. If it was super soft, I might need to add a little bit more time because of that. Do I think that this is going to have good action Yeah, it's not a huge brush compared to the size. I almost used my big old 25 millimeter silver tip here from Golden Nib, and I think I would have had to add extra time for that one because it just doesn't have as much movement inside the mug. Okay, and so let's say 30 plus 10 for being a long time, so 40. Um, and then just to be on the safe side, we'll add another 5 seconds. Let's try 45 seconds and see where we end up there. Now, 30 seconds rolled around right there. Now, if I've shaken out too much water from my brush, then I may have to pause. I'm going to pause after 10 seconds. No, we're getting some water coming out. All right, very good then. So we've done 10 seconds of loading. All right, there we go. So let's see. 20 seconds is going to be at the 00 mark. Said I was going to go to 45. Okay, so that's 20. So 25. The 25 mark will be done. Yeah, we're getting some nice kind of light foam coming up there. So good. It looks like we're not going to have like a pasty lather or anything like that. We should be pulling up enough soap. Oh yeah, look, it's really coming out now. 5 more seconds. Vintage puck, vintage soap, vintage brand brush, vintage razor, vintage blade. So that's just what we're going to do today. I'm going to take a second and extract this. All right. So that's what the brush looks like. So far I have not really treated this any different than pretty much anything else. I did a normal load that I might do for a hard soap. I've seen people, and I've read lots of posts about how people say that Williams is a mug soap for a reason, and you can go into the puck with a very heavily wet brush, go into the mug, and just kind of go at it, maybe even let the soap sit with, half an inch of water on top of it or something like that. Because after all, it's a mug soap, right? And yeah, try it out if you want. It's, to me, if you're a person on a budget, then you definitely need to check out Williams. I would look in all the different grocery stores in your area. Check out other kinds of grocery stores too. In my local area, I found it was an Ingles that had Williams. I found a Wegmans that had it as well. Now look at that lather right here. Most people think of Williams as dissipating, bubbly, and airy, but I didn't do anything special. And this is the same result I get when I use modern. This is not just because it's the vintage. You know what I haven't done? Start adding water yet. And I believe that is my little piece of advice about getting Williams to behave. It requires, if you add water too early, it requires you to take a long time to work that lather back down. And so if you just don't add it right away, if you just don't add it early, then you save yourself that effort, right? Now, I haven't done that method for years and years, okay? But that's my current thought about Williams. Now, I've got videos out where I put together amazing Williams lathers, and it just takes a while. But this right here, not too bad. Just add water, not right away. And then once you've kind of got it like this, then you can kind of add water like a normal soap. Since I haven't shaved in a day and a half, I'm going to use some of this extra finger lather to break up some of my skin oils because I have plenty of natural oils. And once you have that kind of early creamy looking lather that has plenty of texture to it, plenty of strength and rigidity, then you can start adding water at kind of a normal pace that you might do with any other soap. I have gotten, even from the modern version of Williams, just lathers that make people very surprised that I got it from Williams. Creamy, the elasticity of the lather just kind of falling all over the place. Sometimes I've gotten that with just a lot of time in, just working the lather. And I, of course, do not blame people from not wanting to take that much time, especially, I mean, if you're a morning shaver and you've got to kind of get everything done in about 15 minutes, then you can't really take that time. And so then I think you're better served. You can play around with Williams if you want, but you're just going to get quicker, better lathers from other soaps. Now it's looking even creamier. They did reduce the formulation at least one time. I think in my reading they did it a couple of times. I found a website that they talked about dating Williams or identifying vintage Williams. I can't remember what I Google searched, but it was really neat. They gave some of the descriptions of the boxes, like the presence of a barcode indicates a certain start date, because, you know, for the longest time Williams did not have any barcodes. The presence, the word mug, sometimes if it's hollowed out versus solid, that can tell you something about it. Of course, the different companies that it's been sold to sometimes changed UPC codes, and so that can tell you when your puck was made. Definitely tell you under what parent company it was created sometimes. Then there's one, sometimes the box will have a circle printed on it so that you could write the price, or so that the store could put the label or write the price right on the box. That's a piece that can help you date it. And there was one, and look at that, it's even better and better. There was one version, one box that advertised, and it was right around the I think the bicentennial, something like that. And so that gave you a very good, either a 1 or 2 year window where you knew that version of Williams was made. Now let's feel of it. Oh man, cushion here, it feels luxurious. It feels thick. And I've got that wonderful slickness here, and I definitely feel like I can push this a little further. And as you can see, I've got tons of lather. It's good that I'm able to use this excess to break down my my face oils. And we'll keep adding water. So this was the next soap that was voted by you guys to be the one we work on. As with all hard pucks, if it's got tallow in it, don't melt it down. Don't heat it up in the microwave. Don't use a double boiler or anything like that unless the manufacturer tells you that you can. It's much better to shred it. And Williams, I've done that many times. Shred up the puck of Williams with a cheese grater, and then you can press it into whatever size container you want. So far we've used about 20 milliliters of soap, and of water. And that is kind of average for many soaps out there, many crops. Hey, I just read the other day about Barrister and Mann's new base. You know, Will came out with a soft heart that he was doing special runs in there. Of course, he had Excelsior going for a few years now, and it's a pretty good base. It's really kind of top tier. But then after he made everything Excelsior, people who were testing the purple possum, the PP8, as he was working on the Excelsior, they liked it so much that that's why Soft Heart was created, and that was in limited runs. And then he discovered a modified Soft Heart. He changed the lye ratio, and bam, the Soft Heart was no longer as soft. It was a harder soap, and so it wasn't going to run out as quickly as Soft Heart. He didn't push Soft Heart out to the user base on purpose because it was going to be used up too quickly. He didn't want to shaft people and give them a soap that was going to be gone too soon. That's really admirable of him. Well, so he found modified Soft Heart. Well, I guess all the while he's been working on another one. It's called Omnibus. Now, I don't know if the modified Soft Heart was just modified further to be Omnibus, or if Omnibus was a whole new animal. And look at what we have now. Look at how the textures have kind of unified. We don't have tons of peaks in there. Got a nice creamy look to it. Let's kind of wind around here and pull it up and look at the elasticity there. I think we're in good shape. Might even be able to take it a little further, but let me try this first. In terms of water, you know, I might need to add a little bit more water, but let's just use this. Got tons of it. So 45 seconds on a puck that hadn't been used in a couple years was not necessary. It was overkill. All right, let's see how the British brush does with the quintessential American soap. Now, you can get Williams online. And so if you're in an area where you just haven't been able to find it, check around online, but don't overpay for it. I think there are guys who are going, like on eBay, they're going to their grocery store and buying Williams for $1.26 and then putting 3 of them together and trying to sell them for 20 bucks. It's just crazy. But if you can find it for just a couple of dollars online, then I say go for it. A couple of dollars each, you know. And when the current puck of Williams is actually what started out my journey with the Nasset. And it lasted me 60 shaves. And so if you can check out at your grocery stores, all that for a puck of Williams, and if you can find it for $1.50 or something like that, that's pretty good for 2 months of shaves. Now we are kind of seeing the lather increase, aren't we? Before that falls out, and that's because I believe that like I said, I could have added some more water to it. But you know what? I'm gonna leave it as is because I feel like it's gonna as I rinse my face and leave some water droplets on, I feel like it's going to get better as we go. Good bit of backbone this brush has. A little bit higher than medium, I'd say, but it's not too much for me. The tips are fairly soft. And they're working well with this lather. I feel like I've worked the lather in long enough. I've been trying this movement here, just kind of I've always done the back and forth down here, but I've not really done it up here because there's not as much room, and especially over here. It's just a different feel. All right. Now we can use some of this scrap just to kind of, I mean, this is some good stuff, guys. Like to compare it with some other vintage soaps, you know, Cella I've been using lately, the tallow version, and it's nowhere near this slick. It's nowhere near this creamy, being this hydrated. You have to kind of run it pretty dry to get it to start to feel similar to this. Maybe it's just got less tallow, I don't know. All right, lather feels good. Now, here we go. It's probably going to be a little on the aggressive side, but that's also why I picked, you know, how many shaves does this spoiler have on it? I think maybe 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. Not a whole lot. Hopefully it'll be kind to me here. If it feels too aggressive with this razor, with New Improved, I've often found that riding the cap helps to mitigate that and keep it to be a little bit less aggressive feeling, a little bit less rough on my skin. Riding the cap, of course, means if this is a neutral angle where we've got equal coverage, equal contact with the top cap and the combs, safety bar here, riding the cap means putting a little bit more pressure on the cap by raising your handle and a little bit less pressure on the safety bar. Right, raising the handle away from your skin, of course, means that the blade angle gets smaller. So it depends on which one. Ooh, this is starting out good. Okay, so we know it's going to be able to slice through, and man, it's doing it. It is really not giving me any kind of a feeling that it's having trouble with the hair. I mean, I shouldn't have said having trouble. It's not giving me a feeling that it's moving through the hair, you know? I'm watching the hair disappear, but you wouldn't know it by the feel of the razor. It's moving through it effortlessly. Nice slickness on this lather. This is a nice combo. Now, hopefully it's going to keep being just as kind. Have I somehow found the New Improved that is more kind to me? Maybe this blade is just a magical combination, which means that perhaps I could take the New Improved that I have in the other razors as well and put them through a whole bunch of blades and just see what works best. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe by the end of the shave I'll have some aggression and I'll be retracting all of these statements. All right, let's rinse. Now, I told you that sometimes the modern version of Williams is a ripoff when guys try to mark it up. That's also happening with the vintage Williams, of course. I've seen Gillette techs that you can get for $7 on eBay just about any time you want. Person trying to sell it for $100 because they think it's a vintage razor. Or maybe they know it's not worth much, but they're trying to take advantage of people. Who knows? And that definitely happens with the vintage Williams pucks as well. But you know, this works so well. And if it gives you 60 shaves, even if you have to pay $5, $8 a puck, if you like the nostalgia, the slickness is top notch. The performance is just top notch competitive. So, you know, the scent is very minimal, even without my COVID nose going on. The scent is that citronella, and if you leave it uncovered, it in just a few days will greatly reduce. And so if it's obnoxious at first, just leave it uncovered for a few days. Now this brush, more for painting at this point because of where the lather is right now. I didn't really bother charging up the brush with a ton of lather, and so, that's really all you need to do at this point because we've already done the initial work. Now, let's see what happens with the second pass with all of that potential closeness. I mean, this is just breezing across my face, moving through hair like it's nothing. Now, I think the first pass was so efficient that I don't really think there's much to do. Now, my favorite of the new, of this type, this age here, is one that came along a little bit later, the new, or was it before? Dang it, I can't remember if the new improved was before the, it had to be after the new, because you had the old type, then you had the new, and that included the new short comb, the new long comb. I think maybe the new deluxe is in the same family as this one and not in the same family as the new, but I don't know for sure. I have to look. But that new deluxe, boy howdy, it is tremendous. So smooth, and I don't get an aggressive feel at the end of the shave. That is one of those, kind of like the Aristocrat Junior that I was recently reminded about what an amazingly balanced shaver it is, smooth and close at the same time. The Deluxe is another one of those. I'm not having any problem with the handle. It's holding on, and my fingers haven't really gotten very soapy while trying to hold on to it. I feel like I should have had a little bit more moisture in that. Maybe next time I'll remember to try to leave a bunch of water on my face. But man, you can feel that slickness when I take my wet hand. Oh man, that's such good stuff. Now, there are some people who are trying to charge you $20 for a puck of vintage Williams. Even more out there. And that's your choice as to whether you want to spend that much. To me, that's too much. And also, you got to be real careful, right? What if they've gone to the grocery store and gotten a puck of modern Williams? So make sure there's some way you can verify that it is the vintage formula. Like make them, if they've shown you pictures of the box, then look up the barcode, look at the attributes of the box, that sort of thing, so that you know. Now there's one puck of, one of the things they did with Williams during one period of time was menthol. They had a puck that had a little bit of menthol added into it. And that was not, I don't think that was done in a modern version. And so I believe if it says menthol, then it's guaranteed to be the older version. But don't quote me on that. Some people say that Williams is drying. And I have a naturally oily skin. I don't know if that makes it a little easier for me to tolerate, or if maybe my lathers are wet enough and properly wet so that the Williams is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. And maybe their Williams lathers are drying because they haven't added enough water. That is my kind of belief. My best guess. Pretty easy to find a good shaving angle here. The exposure is enough to where it makes it pretty easy. I feel like I could definitely overshave with this razor if I worked on an area for too long. If I used a soap that just wasn't slick enough. If my pressure was too light. I'm sorry, too heavy. Could definitely give myself a good bit of razor burn with this razor, so it's one for me to be careful with. Other guys that are tougher probably don't have a problem at all, and they probably love this one. Sometimes I wish I were that kind of person, because there's a whole other set of razors that I could probably get a little bit more joy from. But oh well, that's where we are. I do feel a little bit of irritation from the razor. I don't think it's from the lather, because this razor has, kind of done that to me in the past. We've got, man, it's the slickness, the feel that you get with this Williams is crazy. So this razor has done a little bit on me. So I finally remembered that one of my options is this very nutritive, metaphorically speaking, for your skin. Lots of good skin ingredients in the Zingari balm. So let's use it, and it's a very light scent, and so I'm probably not going to get too much more than just a hint of it. Even back before I had COVID nose, it wasn't giving me too much. Yeah, a little hint. I think, COVID update, I think I'm smelling it maybe about 50% now. So I think I'm gradually getting better. But man, we're almost to, I think, the 5th week after COVID exposure is my guess. And so, yeah, the nose has taken a while to come back. All right, yeah, oh yeah, there's some woodiness going on right there, little hints of that I'm picking up. That'll be fun to enjoy for a little while. I expect that this kind of irritation is going to be gone in about 6 or 8 minutes. So, this is such a piece of history. These are beautiful, beautiful razors. The balance, they've got some weight to them, and the feel in the hand. This is the balance point. Is so great, and the artistry here, it really makes me not mind the aggression and the feel afterwards. Now there's some modern razors that leave me feeling this way, and I won't tolerate it, right? Because they just don't have all that history, and those are the good qualities. But I mean, these are hefty, substantial. I just remembered something, and I'm glad that I did. I saw a post online, and it was an eye opener, because look, this is a carved base plate. Now I don't know if he on purpose was patterning his razor after the new improved lineup, but it sure shares some traits. Now this one cuts off a little sooner, whereas the carve starts its bevel and still has a clamping on the blade before it sticks you out. And of course, we're talking exposure here. The gap here between the safety bar and the blade edge is really what turns the carve into a much more manageable razor. Look at me trying to do them in reverse because I'm looking at the camera. And so I think maybe this might be where the carve D open comb or E open comb might be for me. That would be my guess. And so if you like your carve E or D open comb a lot and you want to step into the vintage and have something similar, then I think the new improved razors might be a great place to start. Now, some of them are quite exclusive and hard to find, and they have different series names, different set names, like the Richwood, um, and the Bostonian, the Big Fellow, those kind of things. And some of them were made in very small quantities, and so they might be hard to find. But surely, if you're hunting for long enough, you'll be able to find a one like I'm using now, because it was most common, the new improved standard. And so there we go. That was with the spoiler vintage blade from Gillette. I just saw somebody trying to sell about 90 of these for about $90. It's up to you if you want to spend that kind of money, but not me. There are just too many modern blades that work really well for me to try to do that. All right, so as we reassemble and clean off, here is what the base plate, the top cap looks like. Now, of course, because it's got a longer bolt, a longer rod here, then you can't switch this head out with other handles. You know, of course, the head's also permanently attached to the handle here. You can't switch them out with this model. And then you've got the this reaches up and contacts that bolt, of course. It is hollow. This is the new improved standard. Check out mr-razor.com, Mr. Razor. If you want to see some other pictures, go into the new improved, go to the razors first, and then the new improved, and you can see a dozen or more of the examples of the variations on the new improved, as well as get some date information, that sort of thing. So that went well, and already the irritation, the mild irritation that I had, is leveling off. It's very comfortable right now. It's not totally gone, but it's fine. It's fine. So the Zingari man was doing his job. And again, I mean, this is the lather that we're getting from this wonderful soap. So our grandfathers, and in some cases fathers, had this wonderful soap to deal with. I mean, no wonder there wasn't a hobby soap market back then. If you had this kind of top-notch slickness, why would you try to improve on it? Really, sincerely. Just great stuff. And even if you need to be in a hurry and you just kind of load quickly and just start face lathering with it, you get something kind of thin and airy, but it'll still be super slick. That airy, bubbly stuff that I was initially wiping off the mug, it still had this awesome slickness to it. I mean, and so just a little bit of work, and it'll be thinner, it'll be airier, bubblier, but it'll still work great. It just won't be luxuriously thick and that kind of stuff like this stuff is here. So I didn't need to go for 45 seconds, but you know what I mean. I didn't want to have to go back to the puck. And so you make your best guess. By the end of the shave, we ended up using 24 milliliters of water, and that worked out well. So this was the next soap that you guys voted that you'd be interested in seeing. And we were able to talk about the new improved standard razor. It looks like I've got a few razors, a few vintage razors, somewhere in a tote or container. They're all together. My big fellow, I think, is there. Another one of my new deluxes is there, and my aristocrat, some others, right? So I hope I find that soon. Well, I went and looked. I was going to show you my big fellow, but what I found was this guy here, and he, I believe, is actually the same as the one I used today. I thought that I already had See, now that is more the silver color. And so this one, of course, it definitely does not look like a replate, right? So that makes me think that perhaps this one is a replate. But, yeah. See, I thought I had a new improved standard, and so I'm glad I was able to find it. Now, here I am with a question. Do I keep maybe the replate? Or, man, this one's got a ton of character, doesn't it? It just looks great. Ton of character. The handles are different. This one, you see this criterion pattern here? It's they're diamonds, diamond shapes, and then inside the diamond shape, it's made up of little indentations. Maybe about 25 indentations per diamond, something like that. Very tiny pricks, if you will. But then this one, and I noticed that handle. Remember, I think I told you it was smoother. Well, this one, those same 25, and maybe that's because that's a replate. I bet that's what it is, that extra layer of plating. Whereas this one, the little diamonds have a ridge around them, like when the punch went in to make the impression, it generated a slight ripple on the outside. You've got in the center, you do have the divot, but then on the outside, you've got a tiny little ridge, and so that is adding more grip in a really good way. So how about that? Yeah, it makes me think it's a replate. But knowing that I had this one already, actually bought it because it was at a great deal online. I mean, a really nice deal. So that's why I picked it up, knowing that I probably had one of the same kind. Now, this is the other one I was telling you about. Now, this one is the new Deluxe. And so I think my last guess was right in that it kind of belongs more with the Gillette New rather than the New Improved, because this has that same channel here. It doesn't have the three prong, the 3-hole approach there, like the New Improved does. See, 3 prongs. It's really weird that I can't remember which came first, the New or the New Improved. It's got to be the New Improved, right? Because if it's new but improved, then the new would have to exist before, right? But this guy's the one that's just wonderfully smooth. Really enjoy him. It's got that flat plate here on the bottom. Most of the other News have a speed bump that goes all the way across in the middle. He's open comb. So just wanted to show you the difference. But in terms of the handles are practically identical. That criterion handle, I think it's got a lot of character as well. I like it a lot. But it's just the top cap and mainly the base plate that is the big difference. And once you do spot the differences, it's easy to see. Let me show you the top caps. This one looks like a cartridge, a gun shell, doesn't it? So we take that out. The shave's over, by the way. If you guys want to see any more of that, we're done. Now, look at that top cap. You got that ridge, that rail there in the middle. You've also got the 4 corners that have the posts. And that lines up the blades perfectly every time. Let's check out the situation with the New Improved. We don't have a rail, of course, because we don't need it, because we've got the 3 prongs here. Now, the rail is more accurate, usually. We also do not have the 4 posts on each corner of the top cap. Here are the 2 base plates side by side. Notice how this one abandons the bottom edge of the blade a little sooner. This one stretches a little farther toward the edge of the blade. And then, of course, this one has room for that rail. And then no 2 holes on there. And the combs are just a little thinner on this one over here. What is it, the same count of combs? Did they change? It seems that the new improved has 1 extra comb, roughly. They're not exactly the same number of tines there. So, there you go. A little bit about the new improved standard and the new deluxe. There were 2 different new deluxes. This one is my favorite. And you can tell the difference by measuring not the full width of the base plate here, but if you start where the tines start, where that little cutout ends, if you start right there and then go across to the same point on the other side, where this basically the solid goes to solid, you know. If you measure that, this one is 17 millimeters. And the other one that I have, and the other one, I can put any handle on it I want because it doesn't have this 2-piece kind of design. It doesn't have that long bar. It's right up to the top there. And so you can use other spare handles with it, like this T-bam. It's the 15. If you measure across, like I was showing you before, it's 15 millimeters, and it's a little bit more aggressive. This is the smooth one, so I'm glad this is the one I can find. I think maybe hanging out with my big fellow might be the other new deluxe. So there we go. A little bit about those guys. I've got the Pearl Flexi version 7 that I have not yet shaved with. Got that coming up soon. I did finally get a little bit more of a whiff of the C4 Sea Spice Lime. It's really neat. The lime is forefront, but then you got those other spices, and I think the bay is a note that I don't really enjoy. However, when it's tempered and in the background and other ingredients are playing as well, they can turn it into something I don't mind. And if they're spectacular, they can turn that whole scent into something I do enjoy. So it can be a component. And Sean Maher, right, I think is the one who did the scent here for Spearhead. And so, man, that guy can skillfully manage some scents. This smells very nice, very nice. Can't wait till my nose can get it at full tilt. Cannot wait. I kind of want to shave with it now, but I kind of also want to wait until my nose can appreciate it to the max. So we'll just have to keep fighting that fight every day. Williams did awesome. Got 3-4 more passes here in the bowl. Used about 23 milliliters of water roughly. The irritation is now gone from the new improved standard razor with the spoiler in it. You know what that means? That means this razor is probably going to be one that I can use on older blades that maybe have 30 or 40 uses on them, and it might just be perfect. Also, I can just keep trying it with other blades and find one that's on the milder side. You know, I get asked quite a bit about put a mild blade in it. Or I was talking recently with Sean at Carbon Shaving, who generously provided the prize for the Lather games, one of them, and that's the one I got, and I'm very blessed to have it. And I've been putting all kinds of blades in it lately. And he recommended, trying to find a mild blade to put in it. And he said that Nassets were some that his customers were finding that would behave nicely in the carbon. And that, just today I was thinking, you know, in terms of new blades, if I'm going to pull a blade out of an envelope, I don't really have any that I consider mild. I consider it mild when it's got 30 shaves on it, 60 shaves on it, that sort of thing. But I haven't really played around with the blades enough to consistently have one that shaves me more mildly than others. So that's an interesting question. I don't know if I ever want to test them enough to know the answer. I usually have plenty of used blades around to be the mild ones. And so that's what I've been doing. I put a 30 use blade in that carbon razor, and it was a lot nicer. So that's how I come up with mild blades. In terms of new blades, for me, how it ends up to work out is blades that don't do all that great, just kind of feel rough in several of the razors that I use them with. Vashkod kind of falls into that. Then there's the doesn't feel awesome but gets the job done comfortably enough. Wilkinson Sword, Derby are in that place for me. And since those are really cheap blades, then those are really a good value because I get a nice close shave, reasonably comfortable, that sort of thing. And then you've got blades like the Inked Astra, the Gillette Silver Blue, and probably some others that are my Swiss Army knife blades. They just seem to work well in many razors. Nasset might fall into that category. I know it definitely works well for me in many razors. And so that's my kind of third category. And my fourth category is that bleeding edge, slightly aggressive, got to be careful with it when it's a new blade kind of thing. Or take it and put it in a mild razor, a really mild razor, and then that sharpness can be mitigated and you can really enjoy that kind of shave. And of course, feathers are there. And that's Nassets might be there, but they really might belong in that Swiss Army knife category. I don't know, they could kind of jump back and forth. Feather is there in that kind of more ultra sharp kind of category. So I think those are my four blade categories. I don't really have a mild category yet. Who knows if I ever get one. So there we go. Comfortable shave. Very lightly am I still smelling the balm. And I may get wafts of it during the day as I'm moving around, and I might go into one smelling area and then come back, and then what's on my face might waft up and give me another hint. So that'll be fun. I do like the Explorer in general. I really wish most of her scents were a little bit stronger in terms of her soaps. A lot of them are really nice, but they are pretty mild. I think that's because she focuses, Heather, Zingari Man, she focuses on the skincare aspect of it, to be kind to people's skin and nourishing and to help out people who have sensitive skin, that sort of thing. And part of that is not having those oils, those scent oils, be in such high concentrations, I think. So, there we go. I think we've covered everything. Nice shave, old stuff. Get a great shave with old stuff. You don't have to go out and buy the newest $300 razor, right? A lot of these old pieces can be found, and I'll tell you what, that's why I picked up this. It's probably a replate, but that's why I picked up this new improved standard. And it even came with a case, the original case, for not very much money at all, less than a Fat Boy. And so this is what I might advise if you're interested in more of a shave with some aggression. But you know what? It's a very smooth, controlled kind of aggression. It's smoother than a Fat Boy or a Slim, set at maybe 7 or 8 might be where I think the aggression, the efficiency is on this, but it's smoother than that. You don't feel that aggression at a 7 or 8. You feel it more like a 5 5. And so I think a lot of people could really enjoy this type of razor who maybe like their shaves a little stronger than I do. A little bit hard water I have. I think we're good. I think we've covered everything. Take care, guys. This has been a long one because we've been talking about some cool stuff about the vintage razors and the Williams. And Williams took a little bit longer to whip the lather up. Worth it. Worth it. Connection to our shaving history is kind of one of my values. That's why I have some of this old stuff. I like it. All right, well, hey, hopefully this helps you in your shaving journey. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. All the best to you guys. I'm feeling stronger and stronger every day. Still get a little tired sometimes, a little more tired than usual, but almost to the 5th week after COVID, and I'm doing pretty well. I don't think I anyway have to worry about the breathing. I used to practice deep breathing when I had it before, weeks ago, just to make sure that I didn't develop any kind of pneumonia or anything like that. I don't really feel like that's as important right now because I think my lungs are feeling really, really stable. So that's really cool too. Thank you guys for praying for me. Those of you who have, thank you for your many kind words as well. All right, awesome guys. Take care now. Bye.